All right, a few minutes from hearing from the President of the United States, we're told that he has cobbled together a temporary extension to keep the government lights on or to resume their lights on, depending on what part of the government we're talking about here, but without guaranteed funding for a wall. We're also hearing separately from a senior House Democratic aide who says that any U.S. House vote on Friday, and it would come Friday if it does today, would depend on whether that funding bill was clean. In other words, that it was not contingent on or provided funding for a wall. To retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis. If it turns out, Colonel, it's always good having you, my friend. If it turns out this is not inclusive of a wall or funding for a wall, at least not yet, and they'll try to cobble that together in the next 3 weeks, what would you think?
Well, I'm kind of in agreement with some of your previous guests here in that it would be very unfortunate for the American people, irrespective of where you fall on the political spectrum, because the ironic part is when you look at what President Trump has said and what the Democrats have said, they're like about 75% in agreement on what needs to happen in terms of some fencing, some electronics, some personnel. And the idea is that we should work together to provide security for our country, because that's what we actually need. And let's agree where we agree and then spend that last 25% knocking out the parts that they don't agree on.
You know, Colonel, it's interesting. We don't know a lot of details, so I'm making the leap here, but this sounds an awful lot like the original measure the president rejected back in December, right before the holidays. So if you're a Democrat on this, you're rubbing your hands together and say, all right, he blinked, did he?
Right, and it's, honestly, it's kind of unfortunate, again, because there's so much of the politics involved with this, because, I mean, this was actually even closer to that, the deal that was lined up before before the government was ever shut down. We could have just gone on with that originally and then worked on until February 8th, I think was the original date.
No, you're right. I forgot about that. You're actually, that would have been a better deal. You're right. But is it your sense, Colonel, that our maybe, and these things go behind the scenes, there were concerns about our nation's air traffic, safety issues, these delays we had at LaGuardia today, similar delays and popping up with 1 out of 10 TSA workers not showing up and sick outs and all the rest, so air traffic controllers, well, not in those high numbers or ratios, similarly stressed and under duress, that came into play here, just safety issues.
Well, and in addition to that, this affects so many people, and so many people are paying a price to decide or to watch to find out who's going to, quote, win, whether it's the Democrats or whether it's President Trump. And all that it's pretty clear is that the people are going to lose no matter which side comes out on top. And that's one of the things that I just really wish that both sides would come together and recognize y'all can, throw mud at each other and knock it out if you want, but don't make the people pay for it one way or the other, because what's been clear from the very beginning is this is going to be resolved at some point. And the point is you could have resolved this before causing people to pay a personal price. And, especially we've heard that a lot of the government workers are going to get back pay, but the contract workers aren't going to get anything. Many of them just lose a whole month's salary, and that's just not fair to ask them to do that.
Colonel, always good seeing you, my friend. Thank you very, very much.
Always good to be here. Thank you.
Danny Davis, Defense Priorities Senior Fellow.